In the vast blue silence of the world's oceans, where light fractures into shimmering beams and sound travels farther than sight, there exists a mind unlike our own, ancient, intelligent, and profoundly social. For over 50 million years, dolphins have evolved from land-walking mammals into masters of the sea, reshaping their bodies, their senses, and perhaps even their consciousness to thrive in a world defined not by air, but by pressure, depth, and echo. They are not merely swimmers. They are navigators of invisible acoustic landscapes, architects of alliances, innovators, communicators, creatures capable of recognizing themselves, remembering one another for decades, and forming bonds that rival the complexity of primate societies. Beneath the surface lies a civilization of sound, signature whistles functioning like names, alliances formed through strategy and trust, cultures passed down through generations without a single written word. Their brains rival our own in complexity. Their sleep defies the biological rules that govern nearly all mammals. Their societies shift and reorganize with remarkable fluidity. They cooperate, they compete, they play, they grieve. And as science peels back the layers of mystery, one question grows louder: how close are these minds to ours? From prehistoric ancestors walking ancient shorelines to modern dolphins navigating sonar-filled oceans shaped by human industry, their story is one of extraordinary adaptation, resilience, and intelligence. But it is also a story of vulnerability, of extinction, noise pollution, habitat loss, and ethical dilemmas about how humanity chooses to interact with beings that may possess a rich inner life. Today, we dive beneath the waves to explore the science, the mystery, and the profound implications of dolphin cognition. We will examine their evolution, their social structures, their communication systems, their sensory superpowers, and the philosophical questions they force us to confront. Because understanding dolphins is not just about understanding an animal. It is about understanding intelligence itself, and perhaps redefining what it means to be conscious in this world. Dolphins belong to the order Cetacea, which encompasses all whales, dolphins, and porpoises, representing one of the most successful evolutionary transitions from terrestrial to aquatic life in mammalian history. Approximately 50 million years ago, their ancestors walked on land as four-legged creatures resembling modern ungulates, before gradually adapting to marine environments through a series of remarkable morphological transformations. The fossil record reveals intermediate forms such as Pachycetus and Ambulocetus, species that possessed both terrestrial and aquatic adaptations, including nostrils positioned progressively higher on the skull, eventually migrating to the apex to form the blowhole characteristic of modern cetaceans. This evolutionary journey required fundamental restructuring of virtually every physiological system, from respiratory adaptations allowing extended submersion to the development of specialized fat deposits for buoyancy and thermoregulation. The modern dolphin's streamlined body, devoid of external hind limbs, represents the culmination of millions of years of selective pressure favoring hydrodynamic efficiency in an environment fundamentally different from their terrestrial origins. The dolphin brain exhibits an encephalization quotient second only to humans among all Earth's creatures, a metric comparing brain mass to body mass while accounting for allometric scaling principles that govern biological proportions. This extraordinary neurological development manifests in cerebral cortices characterized by extensive gyrification, the folding pattern that increases surface area and, theoretically, computational capacity. Remarkably, dolphin brains contain specialized von Economo neurons, elongated spindle-shaped cells previously thought exclusive to great apes and humans, which neuroscientists associate with complex social cognition, self-awareness, and rapid intuitive assessment of social situations. The neocortex of dolphins displays unique laminar organization compared to terrestrial mammals, suggesting independent evolutionary pathways toward cognitive complexity. Furthermore, dolphins maintain unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, a remarkable adaptation wherein one brain hemisphere remains vigilant while the other rests, allowing continuous conscious breathing and predator surveillance throughout nocturnal periods, a neurological feat that challenges fundamental assumptions about consciousness and the necessity of complete neural rest. Echolocation represents the dolphin's primary sensory modality, a biological sonar system of such sophistication that it surpasses most human-engineered equivalents in resolution and processing capability. Dolphins generate high-frequency click trains, some exceeding 200 kHz, through specialized structures within the nasal passages called phonic lips, which vibrate rapidly to produce acoustic pulses that propagate through the melon, a fatty organ in the forehead that functions as an acoustic lens, focusing and directing sound beams with remarkable precision. The returning echoes, containing information about object size, shape, composition, distance, and even internal structure, are received primarily through the lower jaw, where specialized fat channels conduct vibrations to the middle and inner ear. The temporal resolution of dolphin echolocation approaches microseconds, enabling discrimination of objects separated by mere millimeters, and the system operates effectively across distances exceeding 100 meters in optimal conditions, providing dolphins with detailed three-dimensional acoustic imagery of their environment even in complete darkness or turbid waters. Signature whistles constitute each dolphin's unique acoustic identifier, functioning analogously to individual names in human societies, a discovery that revolutionized understanding of animal communication complexity. Research demonstrates that dolphins develop these distinctive frequency-modulated signals during their first year of life, incorporating elements that may reflect maternal influence, geographic location, or individual innovation. Remarkably, dolphins use these signature whistles to call specific individuals, and recipients respond preferentially to their own signatures, demonstrating clear evidence of referential communication beyond mere species recognition. Studies employing playback experiments reveal that dolphins maintain long-term memory of associates' signature whistles, recognizing individuals after separations exceeding 20 years, suggesting social cognitive capacities rivaling primates. The signature whistle system operates within a broader communicative repertoire including burst pulse sounds, echolocation clicks, and body postures, creating a multimodal communication network whose full complexity remains incompletely understood, representing one of the most sophisticated non-human communication systems documented in terrestrial or marine environments. Dolphin societies exhibit fission-fusion dynamics, fluid social structures where group composition changes continuously based on behavioral context, environmental conditions, and individual relationships, creating networks of staggering complexity. Bottlenose dolphins form multi-level alliances, particularly among males, who cooperate in sequential tiers to secure reproductive access to females. First-order alliances involve pairs or trios who jointly consort individual females, sometimes for weeks, preventing their interaction with other males. Second-order alliances comprise multiple first-order groups who cooperate against rival alliances in territorial disputes or female acquisition. Remarkably, some populations demonstrate third-order alliances, where separate second-order groups form temporary coalitions during conflicts with other large groupings, exhibiting strategic cooperation rivaling chimpanzees and humans. These nested alliances require sophisticated social cognition including individual recognition, relationship tracking across multiple hierarchical levels, strategic assessment of relative alliance strength, and tactical flexibility in alliance activation, representing cognitive demands that may have driven the evolution of enhanced intelligence in these marine mammals. Orcas, the largest dolphins despite their common name, killer whales, exhibit cultural differentiation so pronounced that populations inhabiting overlapping geographic ranges maintain completely distinct behavioral repertoires, dietary specializations, and vocal dialects without interbreeding. Resident orcas along the Pacific Northwest coast consume exclusively fish, primarily salmon, employing cooperative hunting strategies and maintaining complex matrilineal social structures where individuals remain with their mothers throughout life. Transient or Biggs orcas, conversely, specialize in marine mammal predation, hunting seals, sea lions, dolphins, and occasionally larger whales, while maintaining smaller, more fluid social groups and producing acoustically distinct vocalizations. Offshore orcas represent a third ecotype, apparently specializing in shark predation based on tooth wear patterns and limited dietary analysis. These behavioral differences transmit culturally through vertical and horizontal pathways across generations rather than through genetic inheritance, constituting true cultural evolution in non-human animals, with reproductive isolation maintained by cultural rather than geographic or genetic barriers, challenging traditional species concepts. The military utilization of dolphins commenced during the Cold War era, when both American and Soviet naval forces recognized the animal's extraordinary biosonar capabilities and trainability for underwater operations inaccessible or hazardous for human divers. The United States Navy Marine Mammal Program, established in 1960, deployed bottlenose dolphins for mine detection and clearance, exploiting their echolocation's superior ability to discriminate between mines and benign objects on complex seafloors where electronic sensors frequently fail. Dolphins also performed swimmer detection missions, identifying unauthorized divers approaching restricted naval installations and equipment recovery operations, locating lost ordnance, downed aircraft components, and other valuable materials on ocean floors. Remarkably, dolphins demonstrated capabilities for marking detected objects with acoustic transponders or floating buoys, enabling human recovery teams to retrieve materials without dolphin physical interaction. Ethical controversies surrounding military dolphin employment persist, questioning whether animals capable of sophisticated cognition should be deployed in potentially dangerous combat support roles, though advocates argue dolphins experience less stress than alternative military roles and maintain high welfare standards. River dolphins constitute a polyphyletic assemblage, multiple independent lineages that convergently adapted to freshwater riverine habitats across South America and Asia, demonstrating that the transition from marine to freshwater environments occurred repeatedly throughout cetacean evolution. The Amazon river dolphin, or boto, inhabits complex flooded forest ecosystems called varzea, navigating through submerged tree trunks with remarkable agility despite extremely poor visibility in sediment-laden waters. Ganges river dolphins have evolved functional blindness, their eyes reduced to pinhole openings capable only of detecting light direction, relying exclusively on echolocation for navigation and foraging in the perpetually turbid waters of the Indian subcontinent's major river systems. The Baiji, or Yangtze River dolphin, was declared functionally extinct in 2006, representing the first cetacean species driven to extinction by human activities in recorded history, serving as a tragic reminder of anthropogenic pressures threatening freshwater ecosystems. These river dolphins typically exhibit more flexible necks than oceanic relatives, facilitating navigation in three-dimensionally complex riverine environments where maneuverability supersedes the streamlining priorities of open ocean species. Self-recognition in mirrors, considered a hallmark of self-awareness and higher-order consciousness, has been convincingly demonstrated in bottlenose dolphins through modified versions of the mark test originally developed for chimpanzee cognition research. When researchers surreptitiously marked dolphins with temporary ink visible only in mirrors, the animals spontaneously oriented marked body regions toward their reflections, spending significantly more time examining marks than unmarked areas or control marks placed outside their visual field even with mirror access. This behavior indicates understanding that the mirror image represents their own body rather than a conspecific, requiring conceptual self-representation that philosophers and cognitive scientists associate with metacognition and potentially consciousness. Interestingly, dolphins demonstrate mirror self-recognition at younger ages than great apes, suggesting that the cognitive architecture underlying self-awareness may develop more rapidly in these marine mammals. The evolutionary independence of this capacity in primates and cetaceans, lineages separated by approximately 95 million years, indicates that complex self-awareness evolved convergently, arising multiple times through natural selection, challenging assumptions that such sophisticated consciousness necessarily requires primate-specific neural organization. Dolphins employ sophisticated cooperative hunting strategies that demonstrate coordination, role specialization, and potentially intentional communication about shared goals, behaviors typically associated with advanced social intelligence. Bottlenose dolphins in Laguna, Brazil, cooperatively hunt with human fishermen through traditional practices spanning generations, where dolphins drive mullet schools toward shore-wading humans, signaling optimal net casting moments through specific aerial behaviors. after which humans cast nets capturing fish for both species. In Shark Bay, Australia, some dolphins transport marine sponges on their rostra while foraging, using these tools to protect sensitive skin while probing rocky substrates for hidden fish, representing one of few documented cases of tool use among marine mammals. And remarkably, this behavior transmits primarily through maternal lines, constituting cultural rather than genetic inheritance. Other populations employ strand feeding, deliberately beaching themselves to capture fish stranded on mudflats by their initial rush, a high-risk technique requiring precise timing and body control, typically learned through observation of proficient practitioners, again demonstrating cultural transmission of complex foraging innovations. The dolphin auditory system processes information across frequency ranges far exceeding human capabilities, detecting sounds from approximately 75 Hz to 150 kHz, enabling perception of ultrasonic frequencies completely inaudible to terrestrial mammals including humans. This extraordinary bandwidth facilitates both long-range communication using low-frequency whistles that propagate efficiently through seawater and high-frequency echolocation for detailed environmental perception. The inner ear contains specialized adaptations including reduced basilar membrane dimensions and increased neural innervation density, supporting the temporal resolution necessary for processing rapid-fire echolocation click trains and extracting meaningful information from overlapping echoes in acoustically complex environments. Remarkably, dolphins can independently control sound production and reception, employing forward masking and other temporal gating mechanisms to prevent outgoing echolocation signals from overwhelming their auditory receptors, analogous to how human vocal systems prevent self-deafening during speech. The integration of auditory information occurs in enlarged temporal lobes exhibiting cytoarchitectural specializations absent in terrestrial mammals, suggesting unique neural processing strategies adapted to aquatic acoustic environments where sound represents the primary information channel. Dolphins demonstrate episodic-like memory, the capacity to recall specific events situated in particular spatial and temporal contexts, a cognitive ability previously considered uniquely human or restricted to closely related primates. Experimental paradigms reveal that dolphins remember arbitrary sequences of behaviors over extended intervals, accurately reproducing complex action chains after delays exceeding minutes, and demonstrate understanding of repeat last commands that require episodic recall of immediately preceding but unspecified actions. Furthermore, dolphins exhibit prospective memory, remembering to execute intended actions at future moments, a metacognitive capacity requiring mental time travel into both past and future. Studies investigating dolphin understanding of innovative commands, where animals must produce behaviors not recently performed, reveal that dolphins maintain detailed records of their recent behavioral history, inhibiting repetition even across extended repertoires. These mnemonic capacities suggest that dolphin consciousness may possess temporal depth, experiencing subjective continuity across past, present, and anticipated future rather than existing exclusively in the immediate present, raising profound questions about the phenomenology of dolphin subjective experience and its similarities to human conscious awareness. Sexual behavior in dolphins extends far beyond reproduction, serving complex social functions including alliance formation, social bonding, conflict resolution, and potentially pleasure-seeking, paralleling the role of sexuality in bonobos and humans. Both male and female dolphins engage in extensive same-sex sexual interactions, with mounting genital-genital contact and stimulation occurring regularly outside reproductive contexts, suggesting that sexual behavior functions importantly in maintaining social cohesion and alliance strength. Dolphins also demonstrate interspecific sexual behavior, with documented interactions between different dolphin species and even across taxonomic boundaries, indicating that sexual behavior may sometimes function exploratively or playfully rather than reproductively. The dolphin clitoris exhibits extensive erectile tissue and rich sensory innervation, anatomical features consistent with organs evolved for sensation rather than merely reproduction, suggesting that female dolphins may experience sexual pleasure analogously to humans, an interpretation supported by observational evidence of female-initiated sexual behavior outside estrus periods. These findings challenge traditional ethological frameworks treating non-reproductive sexual behavior as aberrant, instead suggesting that sexuality's social and potentially hedonic dimensions represent legitimate adaptive functions across intelligent, long-lived, social species. Dolphins possess highly developed theory of mind, the capacity to attribute mental states including beliefs, desires, intentions, and knowledge to other individuals, enabling prediction and manipulation of others' behavior through social intelligence. Experimental evidence demonstrates that dolphins understand human attentional states, preferentially gesturing toward and choosing trainers who are visually oriented toward them rather than those looking away or with eyes covered, indicating comprehension that visual attention correlates with mental awareness. Dolphins also demonstrate tactical deception, producing misleading signals to manipulate conspecific behavior, such as mothers producing false alarm calls to interrupt juvenile play sessions, or subordinate males suppressing signature whistles while surreptitiously approaching guarded females. Behaviors requiring understanding that others' actions depend on their perceptual access and beliefs rather than merely on objective reality. The capacity for deception necessarily implies theory of mind, as effective manipulation requires modeling another individual's mental state and deliberately engineering false beliefs, representing sophisticated social cognition documented in few non-human species, primarily great apes and corvids, suggesting convergent evolution of this capacity in lineages with complex social environments requiring strategic interaction. The dolphin immune system faces unique challenges in aquatic environments where wounds cannot scab conventionally and where constant water exposure creates infection risks unknown to terrestrial mammals. Despite this, dolphins demonstrate remarkable wound healing, with even massive shark bite injuries repairing rapidly and thoroughly, often leaving minimal scarring on injuries that would prove fatal to terrestrial mammals. This extraordinary regenerative capacity apparently involves enhanced collagen production, accelerated cellular proliferation, and possibly antimicrobial compounds in dolphin blubber that reduce infection risk. Dolphins also maintain core body temperatures around 36 to 37 degrees Celsius despite inhabiting waters often 20 or more degrees cooler, requiring massive heat generation through elevated metabolic rates and sophisticated thermoregulatory mechanisms including countercurrent heat exchangers in flippers and flukes that minimize heat loss while maintaining appendage function. The blubber layer serves both insulation and energy storage functions, its thickness varying seasonally and with reproductive status, and contains specialized vascular networks allowing dynamic regulation of heat loss through peripheral vasodilation or vasoconstriction, enabling dolphins to maintain thermal homeostasis across enormous temperature gradients without the fur insulation employed by seals and sea otters. Dolphin sleep represents one of nature's most remarkable neurological phenomena, as these obligate air breathers maintain continuous consciousness throughout their lives, never experiencing the complete neural shutdown characteristic of terrestrial mammalian sleep. Unihemispheric slow-wave sleep enables dolphins to rest one cerebral hemisphere while the other maintains wakefulness, vigilance, and control of breathing behavior, with hemispheres alternating periods of rest across the sleep cycle. During these episodes, the eye contralateral to the sleeping hemisphere typically closes while the other remains open, scanning for predators or monitoring group members, and swimming continues in coordinated patterns, though generally at reduced speeds. Remarkably, dolphins can apparently sustain this sleep pattern indefinitely without requiring periods of bilateral rest, challenging fundamental theories about sleep's functions that emphasize metabolic restoration and memory consolidation processes seemingly impossible without complete neural disengagement. The implications for consciousness studies are profound, suggesting that awareness may not require full brain synchronization, and that the dolphin brain may maintain continuous subjective experience throughout life, never entering the unconscious states humans experience nightly, raising questions about whether dolphins possess fundamentally different phenomenology of consciousness than terrestrial mammals. Dolphins communicate their emotional states through postural displays, aerial behaviors, and specialized vocalizations that groupmates apparently interpret and respond to appropriately, suggesting some degree of emotional contagion or empathy within social groups. Observations of dolphins supporting injured or dying companions, sometimes for hours, maintaining them at the surface for breathing despite considerable energetic cost and potential danger from predators, indicates behavioral responses consistent with grief, concern, or distress at conspecific suffering. Bottlenose dolphins have been documented supporting stillborn calves for days, repeatedly lifting the deceased infant to the surface in behaviors paralleling maternal care, suggesting emotional responses to death and loss. Whether these behaviors indicate subjective emotional experiences comparable to human grief remains philosophically contentious, as the attribution of emotions to non-human animals necessarily involves anthropomorphic interpretation. Yet the behavioral parallels are sufficiently striking that many researchers consider it parsimonious to infer that dolphins experience emotional states structurally similar to humans, given our shared mammalian neural architecture and the adaptive value of emotions in navigating complex social environments requiring flexible responses to unpredictable situations. The hydrodynamic efficiency of dolphin locomotion has inspired decades of engineering research attempting to understand how these animals achieve swimming speeds and maneuverability that seemingly violate theoretical predictions based on their size and muscle power, a puzzle known as Gray's paradox after British zoologist James Gray. Contemporary understanding attributes much of this efficiency to sophisticated skin properties, including specialized dermal structures that may actively dampen turbulence formation in the boundary layer where water flows across the body surface, reducing drag below levels experienced by rigid objects. The dolphin tail flukes generate thrust through complex three-dimensional motions combining vertical oscillation with subtle rotational and deformation patterns that optimize propulsive efficiency across varying speeds, and dolphins exploit vortex structures in their wake, timing subsequent tail strokes to extract energy from rotating water structures created by previous strokes. Dolphins also demonstrate energetically efficient traveling strategies including porpoising, where animals repeatedly leap clear of the water during high-speed transit, reducing drag by traveling partially through air rather than exclusively through the denser aquatic medium, and bow riding, where dolphins position themselves in pressure waves generated by vessels or large whales, effectively surfing these hydrodynamic structures to travel without independent propulsion. Dolphin skin regenerates with extraordinary rapidity, completely replacing the outer epidermal layers approximately every 2 hours, a turnover rate roughly 8 times faster than human skin and among the highest documented in any mammal. This accelerated sloughing apparently serves multiple functions, including maintenance of smooth hydrodynamic surfaces by preventing biofouling organism colonization, continuous wound healing, and potentially thermoregulation through controlled epidermal thickness variation. The outer skin layer, though appearing smooth, contains microscopic dermal papillae arranged in specific patterns that may influence boundary layer flow, and the underlying blubber exhibits viscoelastic properties that allow shape deformation in response to flowing water, potentially actively damping turbulent eddies before they fully develop. Remarkably, the skin blubber complex contains dense mechanoreceptor innervation, providing dolphins with detailed tactile information about water flow patterns across their bodies, potentially enabling real-time hydrodynamic feedback that allows behavioral adjustments optimizing swimming efficiency. The skin also demonstrates variable pigmentation, with many species exhibiting distinctive coloration patterns that may serve individual identification, species recognition, or camouflage functions, and some populations show dramatic color pattern variations suggesting geographic differentiation or even cultural marking traditions. Dolphins modify their vocal behavior in response to anthropogenic noise pollution, increasing call amplitude, shifting frequency ranges, and simplifying whistle structures when competing with vessel traffic, construction activities, or military sonar operations, behavioral plasticity analogous to the Lombard effect in humans where speakers raise voice volume in noisy environments. However, these compensatory adjustments incur costs, as increased vocalization amplitude requires greater energy expenditure, and simplified call structures may reduce information content or recognizability, potentially degrading communication effectiveness. Chronic noise exposure correlates with elevated stress hormone levels, reduced foraging success, and habitat displacement in some populations, indicating that acoustic pollution represents a significant conservation threat beyond its immediate masking effects. Particularly concerning is military sonar, especially mid-frequency active sonar employed in submarine detection, which several mass stranding events have been temporally and spatially associated with, suggesting that intense acoustic exposures may cause disorientation, tissue damage from bubble formation, or flight responses leading dolphins into dangerous shallow waters. These impacts underscore dolphins' profound dependence on acoustic information and the vulnerability of marine ecosystems to anthropogenic sound, prompting regulatory efforts to minimize harmful exposures while balancing naval operational requirements. The dolphin visual system, though often considered secondary to auditory perception, exhibits sophisticated adaptations enabling effective vision in both aquatic and aerial environments despite the dramatically different optical properties of these media. The lens is nearly spherical, providing strong refractive power to overcome the reduced refraction at the cornea-water interface compared to the cornea-air interface in terrestrial mammals, and specialized muscles allow accommodation, adjusting focus between close and distant objects. The retina contains both rod and cone photoreceptors, indicating capacity for both dim light scotopic vision and bright light photopic vision, though dolphins apparently possess only a single cone type, suggesting monochromatic or limited color vision compared to most terrestrial mammals. The distribution of photoreceptors shows strong dorsoventral asymmetry, with higher rod density in the ventral retina and cone density in the dorsal retina, potentially optimizing vision for detecting prey silhouetted against the bright downwelling light from above and for aerial vision when surfacing. Remarkably, the visual fields of the two eyes overlap anteriorly, providing binocular vision for three-dimensional depth perception, while also extending posteriorly, giving dolphins nearly 360-degree visual coverage around their bodies, minimizing blind spots that predators might exploit. Dolphins demonstrate numerical cognition, discriminating between quantities and demonstrating understanding of relative magnitude relationships, cognitive abilities fundamental to many aspects of intelligent behavior including resource assessment, social monitoring, and strategic decision-making. Experimental studies reveal that dolphins can discriminate between visual arrays containing different numbers of objects, selecting the more numerous array when food rewards are associated with quantity, and these discriminations follow psychophysical principles governing human numerical perception, including ratio-dependent discrimination difficulty where distinguishing small differences becomes increasingly difficult as absolute magnitudes increase. Dolphins also demonstrate understanding of ordinal relationships, selecting stimuli associated with specific positions in learned sequences, and can bisect continuous quantities, choosing intermediate values when presented with stimuli varying along continuous dimensions such as size or duration. These capacities suggest that dolphins possess approximate number systems analogous to those documented in humans, primates, and some birds, supporting domain general magnitude estimation rather than merely learned associative responses. The adaptive significance of numerical cognition in dolphins remains speculative, though likely relates to social monitoring where tracking numbers of allies versus competitors could influence strategic decisions, or to foraging contexts requiring assessment of prey school sizes versus pursuit costs. The social transmission of foraging innovations constitutes cultural evolution, analogous to human technological progression, though operating on slower timescales and without the cumulative complexity characteristic of human culture. The sponging behavior documented in Shark Bay, Australia, where dolphins wear marine sponges as rostral protection while foraging, transmits almost exclusively from mothers to daughters, with vertical transmission rates exceeding 95% among offspring of sponging females, while horizontal transmission to unrelated individuals remains extremely rare. This matrilineal transmission pattern indicates that cultural learning depends on close association during the prolonged dependency period, and genetic analyses reveal that spongers are not a distinct genetic lineage but rather a behavioral subset of the population, confirming cultural rather than genetic determination. Remarkably, sponging females demonstrate different ranging patterns, foraging habitats, and association networks compared to non-spongers despite inhabiting overlapping ranges, indicating that a single learned innovation can reshape multiple behavioral dimensions, creating cultural niches analogous to how human technological innovations restructure societies. The stability of this cultural trait across at least 7 generations documented through long-term research suggests that dolphin cultures, once established, can persist indefinitely without genetic change, representing true cultural evolution in marine mammals. Dolphin respiratory physiology accomplishes the remarkable feat of extracting oxygen during brief surface intervals sufficient to support extended underwater activity, requiring adaptations far exceeding typical mammalian respiratory efficiency. Dolphins exchange approximately 80 to 90% of lung volume with each breath, compared to roughly 15% in resting humans, and breath-holding durations regularly exceed 5 minutes, with some species remaining submerged for 15 minutes or longer during deep dives. Oxygen storage extends beyond the lungs to include high concentrations of myoglobin in muscles and hemoglobin in blood, proteins binding oxygen molecules for transport and storage, and dolphins possess approximately twice the blood volume per kilogram body mass compared to terrestrial mammals, increasing total oxygen carrying capacity. During dives, dolphins exhibit bradycardia, dramatic heart rate reduction minimizing oxygen consumption by non-essential organs through peripheral vasoconstriction that shunts blood preferentially to brain and heart, and they tolerate lactic acid accumulation from anaerobic metabolism at levels that would be toxic to terrestrial mammals. Perhaps most remarkably, dolphins collapse their lungs during deep dives, forcing air into the rigid upper airways and preventing gas exchange, which prevents nitrogen absorption into tissues that causes decompression sickness in human divers who ascend rapidly from depth. The conservation status of dolphin species varies dramatically, ranging from the numerous and apparently stable bottlenose dolphin populations inhabiting temperate and tropical oceans globally to critically endangered populations numbering only in dozens of individuals facing imminent extinction without intensive intervention. The vaquita, a diminutive porpoise endemic to the northern Gulf of California, numbers fewer than 10 individuals as of recent surveys, with population decline driven almost entirely by bycatch in illegal gillnet fisheries targeting totoaba, a fish whose swim bladder commands astronomical prices in Asian markets. Several river dolphin species face similarly dire circumstances, with the baiji functionally extinct, the Indus River dolphin reduced to perhaps 2,000 individuals fragmented across isolated river segments, and the Amazon River dolphin declining throughout its range due to habitat degradation, deliberate killing for use as fishing bait, and incidental capture. Even relatively abundant species face localized threats including targeted hunts for human consumption, live capture for entertainment facilities, habitat degradation through coastal development and pollution, and climate change impacts altering prey distributions. International conservation frameworks including CITES appendix listings and regional management agreements provide some protection, but enforcement challenges, limited resources, and conflicts with economic interests compromise effectiveness, underscoring that preventing anthropogenically driven extinctions of these cognitively remarkable animals requires sustained political will and resource commitment. Dolphins navigate across vast oceanic distances with remarkable precision, returning to specific locations after migrations or displacement events, suggesting sophisticated spatial cognition potentially incorporating multiple sensory modalities including geomagnetic field detection, celestial cues, bathymetric contour following, and acoustic landmark recognition. Some populations undertake annual migrations spanning thousands of kilometers between seasonal feeding and breeding grounds, maintaining fidelity to specific sites across years despite the featureless appearance of the open ocean. The neural basis of this navigational capacity remains incompletely understood, though dolphin brains contain magnetite particles potentially sensitive to Earth's magnetic field, and the enlarged temporal lobes may integrate spatial information analogously to the hippocampal spatial processing systems of terrestrial mammals. Dolphins may also exploit acoustic properties of the ocean including long-range sound propagation in the SOFAR channel, a depth layer where sound refracts horizontally across entire ocean basins, potentially providing acoustic beacons for orientation. The cognitive representation underlying navigation might involve cognitive maps, mental representations encoding spatial relationships between locations independent of the navigator's position, or alternatively could rely on associative networks linking environmental cues with appropriate behavioral responses. though evidence increasingly supports true map-like representations given the flexibility of dolphin navigational behavior under novel circumstances. The emergence of self-awareness and consciousness in dolphin evolutionary history remains enigmatic, as the fossil record provides only indirect evidence through endocranial capacity measurements and inferred brain size, lacking direct evidence of cognitive capacities in extinct species. Encephalization increased dramatically in dolphin lineages approximately 15 to 30 million years ago during the Miocene epoch, possibly driven by selection pressures including increasingly sophisticated echolocation enabling exploitation of deeper water niches, arms races with cephalopod prey developing their own cognitive capacities, or social complexity in response to growing group sizes and intricate alliance networks. The convergent evolution of large brains and apparent high intelligence in dolphins and primates despite nearly 95 million years of independent evolution since their common ancestors suggests that certain ecological or social conditions reliably select for enhanced cognition, perhaps involving complex social environments requiring tracking of individual relationships, strategic cooperation and competition, or flexible problem-solving in variable habitats. However, the unique aspects of dolphin brains, including different neocortical organization, presence of von Economo neurons, and auditory-dominant sensory ecology, indicate that dolphin intelligence represents an alien cognition shaped by environmental pressures and constraints entirely foreign to terrestrial experience, cautioning against assumptions that dolphins' subjective experience resembles human consciousness despite superficial similarities in behavioral complexity. Dolphins exhibit play behavior throughout life, engaging in activities without apparent functional purpose beyond the activity itself, including object manipulation, aerial acrobatics, surfing waves and vessel bow waves, and complex social games involving chase, mounting, and synchronous swimming. This ubiquity of play, continuing into adulthood unlike most mammals that restrict play to juvenile periods, may reflect the extended learning period necessary for mastering complex social and foraging skills, or alternatively suggests that play serves ongoing functions in adults including social bonding, physical conditioning, or cognitive stimulation. Some researchers propose that play in cognitively complex animals like dolphins may simply represent behavioral expression of subjective well-being, animals engaging in pleasurable activities when freed from immediate survival pressures, analogous to human recreation and entertainment, an interpretation difficult to test empirically but increasingly considered plausible given evidence for emotional states in dolphins. Object-oriented play demonstrates particular sophistication, with dolphins transporting seaweed, manipulating floating debris, creating and playing with bubble rings underwater, and engaging in extended interactions with objects that provide no obvious benefit beyond apparent sensory stimulation. The neural basis of play remains poorly understood across all mammals, though it likely involves reward circuits and dopaminergic systems associated with motivation and pleasure, systems that comparative neuroanatomy reveals are highly developed in dolphins. The acoustic complexity of dolphin communication exceeds most other non-human animals, with repertoires including whistles spanning 6 to 30 kHz used primarily for social communication and individual identification, burst pulse sounds resembling squeaks or squawks associated with emotional arousal and social contexts, echolocation clicks exceeding 150 kHz, and low-frequency pops and jaw claps. This multimodal acoustic system operates across frequency ranges exploiting different propagation properties, with low frequencies traveling greater distances through seawater while high frequencies provide finer temporal resolution for rapid information exchange in close proximity social interactions. Whether these vocalizations constitute language in the linguistic sense, with syntax, semantics, and productivity allowing infinite novel utterance generation from finite elements, remains hotly debated. Some researchers report evidence of sequential structure in whistle combinations suggesting primitive syntactic rules, while skeptics argue that demonstrated sequential regularities might reflect emotional state transitions or turn-taking conventions rather than true grammatical structure. The fundamental challenge in assessing dolphin language lies in our inability to access the animal's internal semantic representations, the meanings they associate with acoustic signals, limiting researchers to correlative observations linking vocalizations to contexts without understanding whether dolphins intend communicative effects, what information they attempt to transmit, or how receivers interpret signals, leaving the question of dolphin language unresolved. Dolphins demonstrate preference for familiar individuals, forming long-term affiliative relationships lasting years or potentially lifetimes, suggesting emotional bonds transcending merely functional cooperation, relationships that some researchers characterize as friendships analogous to human social bonds. Quantitative social network analyses reveal that dolphin associations exhibit strong non-random structure, with individuals showing consistent preferences for specific partners across contexts and time periods, and these preferred associates frequently engage in affiliative behaviors including synchronous swimming, tactile contact, and coordinated breathing patterns absent in interactions with non-preferred individuals. Mother-calf bonds represent the strongest social relationships, with prolonged dependency periods extending 3 to 8 years depending on species, during which calves acquire foraging skills, social norms, and local ecological knowledge through observation and practice. Male alliances similarly demonstrate deep social bonds, with partners supporting each other across diverse contexts including feeding, traveling, and reproductive competition, and alliance fidelity sometimes persisting across decades, comparable to human friendships in stability and apparent emotional significance. Whether these social preferences reflect emotional attachments comparable to human friendship or merely stable cooperative partnerships optimizing individual fitness remains philosophically contentious, though the behavioral evidence increasingly suggests that dolphins experience subjective emotional responses towards specific individuals, making meaningful distinctions between mere familiarity and genuine social preference. The question of dolphin personhood has emerged as a serious philosophical and legal consideration, with some ethicists and legal scholars arguing that dolphins' sophisticated cognition, self-awareness, complex social lives, and apparent capacity for suffering warrant recognition as non-human persons deserving moral status beyond typical animal welfare considerations. This perspective holds that certain cognitive capacities, rather than species membership, should determine moral standing, and that dolphins meet reasonable criteria for personhood including self-awareness demonstrated through mirror self-recognition, metacognition evidenced by uncertainty monitoring behaviors, perspective and episodic memory suggesting temporal extension of self, and theory of mind enabling understanding of others as intentional agents. India's Ministry of Environment and Forests declared dolphins non-human persons, banning captivity and recognizing rights to life and liberty, while several other jurisdictions consider similar policies. Critics argue that personhood criteria remain arbitrary, that extending personhood beyond humans opens philosophical difficulties regarding other cognitively sophisticated species, and that conservation and welfare protections provide sufficient ethical frameworks without invoking personhood. Nevertheless, the debate reflects growing recognition that dolphins represent minds of remarkable complexity, potentially experiencing rich subjective lives with suffering and flourishing morally significant in their own right, challenging anthropocentric ethical frameworks that categorically privilege human interests over those of other sentient beings. Dolphins produce synchronized behaviors with remarkable precision, coordinating swimming patterns, breathing cycles, and acoustic emissions with groupmates in displays suggesting sophisticated social coordination mechanisms. Bottlenose dolphins frequently engage in synchronous surfacing, where multiple individuals break the surface simultaneously in tightly coordinated movements maintained across extended periods, and these synchronized behaviors correlate with social bond strength, occurring more frequently between closely affiliated individuals. The sensory basis of this synchronization likely involves multiple modalities, including peripheral vision tracking companions' positions, tactile cues from pressure waves generated by neighbors' movements, and possibly acoustic signals coordinating timing. Some researchers propose that synchronized behaviors function primarily in social bonding, with coordination demonstrating commitment to partnerships analogously to human synchronized activities like dancing or military drilling, while others suggest functional benefits including hydrodynamic efficiency gains from formation swimming or enhanced predator detection through coordinated vigilance. Experimental studies demonstrate that dolphins can learn arbitrary synchronized behaviors on command, performing simultaneous aerial leaps or coordinated underwater maneuvers, indicating cognitive capacity to represent and execute temporally precise joint actions, a capacity that may relate to the sophisticated social coordination required for cooperative hunting and alliance formation in wild populations. The gastrointestinal system of dolphins reflects adaptations to piscivorous diets and underwater feeding mechanics, featuring multi-chambered stomachs functionally analogous to ruminant digestive systems despite completely independent evolutionary origins. The forestomach stores recently ingested prey before passing food to the main stomach, where acid and enzyme secretion initiates chemical digestion, followed by smaller connecting chambers that further process food before entry into the intestines. This chambered configuration apparently facilitates efficient digestion of whole fish, including bones and scales, with powerful stomach acid dissolving calcium-rich skeletal elements and liberating nutrients from prey items consumed rapidly during underwater foraging bouts. Dolphins typically consume 3 to 6% of body mass daily in prey, requiring substantial foraging effort, especially for lactating females supporting both self-maintenance and milk production. Prey selection demonstrates sophistication, with dolphins targeting species based on nutritional content, size, and capture difficulty, and employing diverse hunting strategies adapted to prey behavior and habitat characteristics. Some populations specialize on specific prey species, developing hunting techniques optimized for those targets, while others demonstrate opportunistic foraging across diverse prey communities, reflecting behavioral flexibility shaped by local ecological conditions and culturally transmitted foraging traditions determining which strategies individuals learn and employ. Dolphins exhibit sequential hermaphroditism in their testes development, with one testis typically enlarging and becoming reproductive earlier than the contralateral organ, though eventually both achieve full function, representing an unusual asymmetry in reproductive anatomy. Male dolphins lack external genitalia in the traditional mammalian sense, with the penis retracted within a genital slit that streamlines body contours, extruding only during reproductive activity or social sexual behavior. Female dolphins possess genital slits concealing the vaginal opening and flanking mammary slits from which calves nurse, though these anatomical features provide no reliable external means of sex determination without close examination or genetic testing. The reproductive physiology of females includes polyestrous cycles, maintaining reproductive receptivity multiple times annually, though calving intervals typically extend 3 to 6 years due to prolonged lactation and maternal care. Dolphins exhibit induced ovulation in some species, with copulation triggering egg release rather than occurring on predetermined cycles, and pregnancy durations vary by species from approximately 11 to 17 months. The extended gestation and prolonged dependency periods reflect precocial offspring born with advanced development requiring minimal parental assistance beyond nursing and protection, though behavioral and social learning extends across years, creating extended maturation periods that may contribute to the cognitive sophistication characteristic of dolphins. The study of dolphin cognition faces substantial methodological challenges arising from the aquatic environment, large body size, limited experimental control in field settings, and sensory ecology radically different from human experience, constraining research approaches and complicating interpretation. Captive research offers experimental control enabling sophisticated cognitive paradigms but raises ethical concerns given the confinement of intelligent, wide-ranging animals, and captive populations may develop behavioral abnormalities compromising generalizability to wild conspecifics. Field research preserves ecological validity but sacrifices experimental control, relying predominantly on observational approaches unable to definitively establish causation or assess specific cognitive hypotheses requiring manipulative experiments. The challenge of developing appropriate experimental paradigms proves particularly acute given dolphins' auditory dominant perception, requiring researchers to design tasks accessing cognitive capacities through modalities fundamentally different from the visual spatial tasks typical of primate cognition research. Furthermore, interpreting dolphin behavior requires avoiding anthropomorphism while simultaneously recognizing genuine cognitive sophistication, a balance proving difficult when behavioral observations suggest capacities traditionally considered uniquely human. Despite these challenges, accumulating evidence from diverse methodologies increasingly reveals that dolphin cognition represents sophisticated intelligence rivaling great apes, though manifesting through behaviors and sensory modalities foreign to terrestrial experience, exemplifying how evolution can produce cognitive complexity through multiple independent pathways adapted to radically different ecological niches. Dolphins demonstrate remarkably low cancer rates despite their large body sizes and long lifespans, characteristics typically correlating with elevated cancer risk through increased cell divisions and extended time for oncogenic mutations to accumulate, a phenomenon called Peto's paradox. This apparent cancer resistance may involve multiple mechanisms including enhanced DNA repair capabilities, more robust tumor suppressor systems, more efficient immune surveillance of malignant cells, or altered cellular metabolic processes reducing mutation rates. Comparative genomics reveals that cetaceans possess unique mutations in genes regulating cell division, DNA repair, and apoptosis, pathways critically involved in preventing or eliminating cancerous cells, suggesting that positive selection shaped these genes during cetacean evolution in response to selection pressures favoring longevity and reduced cancer susceptibility. Understanding these mechanisms holds potential biomedical significance, as insights into natural cancer resistance could inform human therapeutic strategies. Additionally, dolphins demonstrate resistance to certain pathogens affecting other marine mammals, possibly reflecting immune system adaptations to their ecological niches, though they remain susceptible to various bacterial, viral, and parasitic infections, including several emerging diseases threatening populations globally. The immune system must balance pathogen defense against autoimmune risks, a balance apparently achieved through mechanisms that remain incompletely characterized but represent promising research directions with implications extending beyond dolphin health to comparative immunology and evolutionary medicine. The vocalizations dolphins produce underwater propagate through their bodies, with high-speed videography revealing that echolocation clicks cause visible tissue vibrations across the head region, and researchers have documented that dolphins can apparently detect electrical fields generated by living organisms, a sense called electroreception thought previously restricted to sharks, rays, and platypus among mammals. The anatomical basis of dolphin electroreception remains debated, with some researchers proposing that modified hair follicles on the rostrum retain sensory innervation capable of detecting electrical potentials, while others remain skeptical given the absence of confirmed electrosensory organs. Nevertheless, behavioral evidence demonstrates that blindfolded dolphins detect metal objects that generate no acoustic returns but produce small electrical fields, suggesting some electrical sensitivity, however mediated. This capacity, if confirmed, could assist in prey detection, particularly for species buried in sediments whose bioelectric activity might betray their location, though the threshold sensitivity and ecological significance remain uncertain. Dolphins also apparently detect water pressure waves through mechanoreceptors distributed across the body surface, providing information about hydrodynamic disturbances created by moving objects, potentially contributing to obstacle avoidance, social spacing maintenance, and prey pursuit. These additional sensory modalities complement the dominant auditory echolocation system, creating multisensory perceptual integration that constructs detailed environmental models from diverse information sources, an integrative process presumably occurring in multimodal brain regions whose organization remains incompletely mapped. Dolphins demonstrate innovation, generating novel behavioral solutions to problems without apparent trial and error learning or obvious environmental shaping, suggesting capacity for insight learning and mental simulation of action outcomes before physical execution. Captive dolphins spontaneously produce novel behaviors when commanded to create something new, demonstrating understanding of the concept of novelty and capacity to monitor their own behavioral repertoires, inhibiting recently performed actions and selecting alternatives that meet originality criteria. Some wild populations spontaneously developed foraging innovations subsequently spreading through communities, including the previously mentioned sponging behavior, fish kicking where dolphins strike fish with their flukes to propel them airborne for easier capture, and shelling where dolphins insert rostra into gastropod shells to extract fish hiding within, then shake shells at the surface to dislodge prey. These innovations demonstrate flexible problem-solving, with dolphins apparently assessing situations, recognizing affordances in environmental features, and generating appropriate behavioral responses without requiring extensive practice or reinforcement. The neural substrates of innovative behavior likely involve prefrontal equivalent regions supporting executive functions including working memory, inhibitory control, and mental flexibility, and dolphins' large brains with extensive neocortical tissue provide the computational substrate potentially supporting these sophisticated cognitive operations. The adaptive significance of innovativeness appears clear, as environmental variability and prey diversity favor individuals capable of flexibly adjusting behavior to local circumstances rather than relying exclusively on genetically encoded responses or laboriously learned associative contingencies. The historical relationship between humans and dolphins spans millennia, with ancient Greek, Roman, and Minoan civilizations depicting dolphins in art, literature, and mythology, frequently portraying them as benevolent creatures assisting drowning sailors or guiding ships safely to harbor. Plutarch described dolphins as the only creatures loving humans for their own sake, disinterested in material rewards, and numerous accounts describe dolphins apparently protecting swimmers from sharks, supporting exhausted swimmers, or guiding lost vessels to safety, though separating genuine protective behavior from coincidental proximity proves difficult. Aristotle recognized dolphins as mammals rather than fish, noting their live birth, nursing, and respiration, demonstrating sophisticated biological knowledge predating modern scientific classification. Contemporary human-dolphin interactions span diverse contexts, including commercial dolphin watching tourism generating substantial economic activity in coastal regions, swim-with-dolphin programs offering close encounters despite welfare concerns, and unfortunately continued direct killing for human consumption in some regions, including Japan's controversial drive hunts. The ethical dimensions of human-dolphin interactions remain contentious, balancing human interests in experiencing these remarkable animals against welfare costs of disturbance, captivity, or exploitation. As understanding of dolphin cognition and potential for suffering deepens, societal attitudes increasingly favor conservation and protection over exploitative utilization, though achieving consensus across cultures with divergent perspectives on animal welfare and resource rights remains challenging. Dolphin dentition varies substantially across species, ranging from the numerous homodont teeth of Risso's dolphins, essentially toothless in adults despite juvenile tooth development, to the conical teeth of bottlenose dolphins numbering roughly 70 to 100 arranged in both upper and lower jaws. These teeth function not for chewing but for grasping slippery prey which dolphins swallow whole, and tooth surfaces accumulate growth layers that researchers analyze to estimate age analogously to tree rings, providing crucial demographic data for population assessments. Tooth wear patterns offer clues to diet and foraging behavior, with heavily worn or broken teeth suggesting hard-shelled prey consumption or abrasive foraging substrates, and in some populations teeth accumulate scars from aggressive interactions, providing indices of social conflict rates. Interestingly, dolphins occasionally suffer dental problems including abscesses, infections, and fractures that can impact feeding efficiency and health, though apparently less frequently than many other mammals, possibly reflecting simpler tooth structures, absence of grinding mastication, or differences in oral microbiota compared to terrestrial species. The teeth serve secondary functions in social contexts, with displays of open jaws bearing exposed teeth representing threat displays, and physical contact including tooth-raking leaves temporary or permanent scarring recording social aggression levels. These rake marks across body surfaces provide researchers with behavioral indicators of social instability or competition, enabling quantitative assessment of social dynamics in populations where direct behavioral observations prove difficult. The parasitic fauna infecting dolphins demonstrates remarkable diversity, reflecting the animal's ecological roles as large-bodied predators exposed to parasites through prey consumption, water exposure, and social transmission pathways. Nematodes infect stomach tissues where they apparently tolerate acidic conditions and obtain nutrients from partially digested prey. Cestodes colonize intestines, and trematodes infect various organs including liver and lungs following complex life cycles involving multiple intermediate hosts. External parasites including whale lice, copepods, and barnacles attach to skin surfaces, particularly around genital regions, flippers, and flukes, sometimes creating substantial infestations that may impact hydrodynamic efficiency or cause irritation, prompting scratching behavior against substrates. Dolphins in some regions demonstrate apparent self-medication, rubbing against specific coral species that produce bioactive compounds with antimicrobial or antiparasitic properties, behavior interpreted as deliberate pharmacological intervention analogous to primate self-medication through plant consumption. Whether dolphins understand the therapeutic effects of this behavior or merely engage in it because rubbing provides immediate relief remains uncertain, though the selectivity for specific coral species suggests more than random substrate use. Parasite loads correlate with host health status, with heavily parasitized individuals often exhibiting concurrent diseases, nutritional stress, or immune suppression, and researchers use parasite assemblages as indicators of population health, habitat quality, and ecological relationships, linking dolphins to their prey communities through shared parasite transmission pathways. The conservation genetics of dolphin populations reveals concerning patterns, including low genetic diversity in some populations reflecting historical bottlenecks or ongoing small population sizes that increase extinction risk through inbreeding depression and reduced adaptive potential to environmental change. Population genetic structure demonstrates that many dolphins exhibit strong site fidelity to specific regions, with limited gene flow between adjacent populations, creating genetically distinct management units requiring separate conservation strategies. This structure arises through a combination of geographic barriers, habitat specialization, and cultural differentiation, with behavioral traditions potentially restricting gene flow when culturally defined groups avoid interbreeding despite lacking physical barriers preventing it. Hybridization between closely related dolphin species occurs in some regions, documented through genetic analysis of individuals exhibiting intermediate morphology, raising taxonomic questions about species boundaries and conservation priorities when distinct species hybridize. The effective population size, the number of breeding individuals contributing genetically to subsequent generations, typically proves far smaller than census population size due to skewed reproductive success and social systems where dominant males monopolize mating opportunities. These genetic considerations complicate conservation planning, as maintaining viable populations requires not merely preventing absolute extinction but ensuring sufficient numbers and genetic connectivity to maintain evolutionary potential and avoid accumulation of deleterious mutations through genetic drift in small populations. Molecular techniques increasingly inform conservation by identifying discrete population units, assessing connectivity between regions, detecting poaching or illegal trade through DNA forensics, and monitoring population trends through non-invasive genetic sampling. The biomechanics of dolphin locomotion reflects fundamental physics governing aquatic propulsion, with the tail flukes oscillating vertically to generate thrust through momentum transfer to surrounding water, propelling the animal forward through Newton's third law. The flukes function as hydrofoils, shaped cross-sections generating lift when moving through water at angles of attack, and dolphins modulate fluke pitch angle throughout the oscillation cycle to optimize thrust production while minimizing wasted energy in lateral forces. The peduncle, the muscular caudal region anterior to the flukes, exhibits remarkable flexibility, allowing complex three-dimensional motion, and high-speed videography reveals that the peduncle undergoes wave-like undulations transmitting power generated by epaxial and hypaxial muscles to the flukes. Remarkably, dolphins demonstrate gait transitions analogous to terrestrial mammals, shifting between walking, trotting, and galloping, with distinct kinematic patterns characterizing low, medium, and high swimming speeds, suggesting that underlying neural pattern generators organize locomotor output into discrete modes optimized for different speed regimes. The flippers primarily function for steering and stabilization rather than thrust production, though dolphins employ them actively during tight maneuvers, and the relatively rigid body minimizes energy loss through unnecessary body bending while maintaining sufficient flexibility for maneuvering. This propulsion system achieves remarkable efficiency, with estimates suggesting that dolphins operating at cruising speeds expend less than half the energy per unit distance traveled compared to similarly sized terrestrial runners, reflecting fundamental advantages of aquatic versus terrestrial locomotion where water's buoyancy eliminates the energetic costs of supporting body weight against gravity. Dolphins vocalize not only for social communication and echolocation but also apparently for emotional expression, with some vocalizations closely tied to behavioral contexts suggesting affective states including distress, excitement, or contentment, though definitively establishing emotional correlates of vocalizations proves methodologically challenging. Calves emit signature whistles at elevated rates when separated from mothers, vocalization behavior resembling contact calls in other social mammals that function to maintain or re-establish proximity between bonded individuals, and mothers respond by approaching and producing their own signature whistles, behaviors suggesting that these acoustic exchanges serve social bonding and proximity maintenance functions. Dolphins in apparent aggressive contexts produce burst pulse sounds characterized by rapid click trains compressed into broadband acoustic emissions subjectively resembling squeaks or squawks to human listeners, and these vocalizations frequently accompany or precede physical aggression including biting, ramming, or chasing, suggesting communicative functions in social dominance and conflict. Conversely, some researchers report whistles produced during apparently relaxed social contexts including group rest periods or affiliative interactions, though systematically linking acoustic structures to behavioral contexts across diverse situations requires extensive observation complicating efforts to develop comprehensive ethograms. The emotional interpretation of vocalizations necessarily involves anthropomorphic inference given our inability to access dolphins' subjective experience, yet comparative neuroscience reveals that dolphins possess limbic structures including amygdala and anterior cingulate cortex implicated in emotion processing across mammals, supporting the parsimonious interpretation that acoustically mediated behaviors reflect underlying emotional states functionally analogous to those in other social mammals including humans. Dolphins navigate complex social landscapes requiring recognition of numerous individuals, tracking of dyadic relationship qualities, understanding of transitive relationships creating status hierarchies, and strategic action considering potential responses of multiple actors simultaneously, cognitive demands potentially driving intelligence evolution. Social complexity hypothesis proposes that large brains evolved primarily to solve social rather than ecological problems, with competitive and cooperative interactions creating frequency-dependent fitness landscapes where cognitive sophistication provides advantages specifically when interacting with other sophisticated individuals. Dolphins exemplify this, with multi-level alliance systems requiring individuals to track relationships at multiple scales simultaneously, cooperate tactically with some individuals while competing against others, and flexibly adjust strategies based on relative competitive abilities and present circumstances. This social cognition apparently develops gradually, with juveniles spending years within their natal groups observing and gradually participating in adult social interactions before achieving full social competence, suggesting that social skills require extensive learning rather than merely maturation of genetically encoded behavioral programs. Interestingly, dolphins demonstrate social learning not only from mothers but also from peers and unrelated adults, with juvenile males particularly attending to successful adult males whose techniques they apparently emulate, creating pathways for rapid spread of successful strategies through populations. These learning processes create cultural dynamics where behavioral variants increase or decrease in frequency through social transmission rather than genetic inheritance, potentially enabling rapid adaptation to changing social or ecological conditions on timescales faster than genetic evolution. The respiratory control enabling breath-holding represents sophisticated neural regulation overriding mammalian reflexes favoring continuous respiration, with brainstem centers actively suppressing breathing behavior during submersion despite accumulating carbon dioxide that would trigger compulsive breathing in terrestrial mammals. Dolphins apparently tolerate elevated carbon dioxide and reduced oxygen in arterial blood beyond levels inducing severe discomfort or panic in humans, physiological modifications enabling extended apnea without the psychological distress characterizing human breath-holding. The diving response includes not only bradycardia but also splenic contraction releasing stored red blood cells into circulation, increasing oxygen carrying capacity during dives when new oxygen uptake proves impossible. Dolphins surfacing after extended dives exhibit rapid breathing rates substantially elevated above resting levels, restoring oxygen stores and eliminating accumulated carbon dioxide before subsequent dives, and respiratory patterns demonstrate voluntary control with dolphins consciously initiating each breath rather than breathing reflexively as terrestrial mammals do during sleep or unconsciousness. This voluntary breathing proves essential given the unihemispheric sleep pattern, as complete loss of consciousness would interrupt breathing with fatal consequences, and newborn calves must consciously control breathing from birth, requiring maternal assistance maintaining surface positions during early weeks when swimming coordination remains undeveloped. The evolutionary transition from terrestrial to aquatic life required fundamental restructuring of respiratory control systems, replacing the primarily autonomous breathing of terrestrial mammals with conscious voluntary breathing, representing one of the most profound neurological adaptations facilitating cetacean marine existence. Dolphin populations demonstrate behavioral traditions varying geographically, with populations inhabiting similar environments employing different techniques for foraging, communicating, or interacting socially, patterns interpretable as cultural variation analogous to human cultural diversity. These traditions likely arise through social learning when innovative individuals develop novel behaviors that subsequently spread through populations via observation and imitation, and once established, traditions maintain themselves across generations through vertical transmission from mothers or horizontal transmission among peers. The stability of these traditions suggests conformity biases where individuals adopt locally prevalent behaviors regardless of potentially superior alternatives, possibly because social coordination benefits outweigh individual optimization, or because learning costs discourage abandoning functional behaviors even when better alternatives exist. Experimental demonstrations of cultural transmission in captive dolphins confirm that naive individuals can acquire novel behaviors solely through observation of trained demonstrators, and these socially learned behaviors can transmit sequentially across multiple individuals, creating transmission chains analogous to those documenting cultural evolution in primates. The existence of culture in dolphins has profound implications for conservation, as preserving biodiversity requires protecting not only genetic diversity and numerical abundance but also behavioral diversity, since culturally transmitted knowledge about foraging sites, predator avoidance, or social conventions might prove essential for population persistence and cannot be recovered if lost, even if populations subsequently recover numerically from genetic founders lacking this cultural knowledge. The enculturation of dolphins in human-controlled environments creates animals whose behavior differs substantially from wild conspecifics, raising questions about whether captive research reveals genuine dolphin cognition or merely demonstrates behavioral plasticity in abnormal environments. Captive dolphins routinely interact with humans, respond to arbitrary gestural or acoustic commands, and participate in cognitive research paradigms entirely foreign to wild experience, creating competencies likely absent in wild populations. Some researchers argue this enculturation proves advantageous, revealing cognitive capacities that dolphins possess but rarely exercise in wild contexts, analogous to how human-raised apes demonstrate cognitive abilities wild individuals rarely express. Others contend that captive studies primarily demonstrate associative learning capacities rather than spontaneous intelligence, with dolphins mastering arbitrary experimental tasks through operant conditioning without necessarily understanding abstract concepts researchers intend to assess. This debate proves difficult to resolve conclusively, as directly comparing wild and captive dolphin cognition requires standardized assessments impractical in field settings, and different research approaches emphasize either ecological validity, prioritizing natural behavior in species-typical contexts, or experimental control, prioritizing elimination of confounding variables even at the cost of artificiality. Increasingly, researchers seek complementary approaches integrating captive experimental studies establishing cognitive capacities with field observations documenting spontaneous deployment of these capacities in ecologically relevant contexts, while remaining cognizant that both approaches face methodological limitations constraining confident conclusions about dolphin minds. Dolphins periodically strand on shorelines, events ranging from solitary individuals to mass strandings involving hundreds of animals simultaneously, phenomena whose causes remain incompletely understood though likely involving multiple factors including navigational errors, social cohesion, disease, predator avoidance, and anthropogenic disturbances. Mass strandings particularly characterize species occupying deep offshore habitats like pilot whales and beaked whales, animals apparently prone to disorientation when entering shallow coastal waters where echolocation proves less effective and confusing bathymetric contours may impede navigation. The social cohesion hypothesis proposes that mass strandings occur when group members follow distressed or disoriented individuals into dangerous shallow waters, with strong social bonds motivating individuals to remain with groupmates even at substantial personal risk, explaining why rescued animals often restrand unless physically prevented from returning to beached companions. Some strandings correlate temporally and spatially with naval sonar exercises, suggesting that acoustic trauma or behavioral responses to intense anthropogenic noise may drive some events, though definitively establishing causation proves challenging given the rarity of strandings and difficulty documenting acoustic conditions preceding them. Strandings provide opportunities for scientific examination including necropsy revealing health status, dietary composition, parasite loads, and anthropogenic impacts including plastic ingestion or entanglement evidence, though strandings predominantly involve compromised individuals whose condition may poorly represent healthy populations. Conservation organizations respond to strandings through rescue operations attempting to return animals to suitable habitat, though success rates vary depending on species, stranding duration, individual condition, and environmental factors, with many strandings ultimately resulting in mortality despite intervention efforts. The question of dolphin language capabilities remains among the most intriguing unsolved problems in animal cognition, with researchers divided between those interpreting evidence as demonstrating sophisticated communication potentially approaching linguistic complexity and skeptics arguing that existing data support only simple signaling systems lacking true language properties. Defining language proves contentious, with criteria potentially including semanticity where signals convey meaning, arbitrariness where form-meaning relationships are conventional rather than iconic, displacement where communication references absent entities or events, productivity where finite elements combine creating infinite novel expressions, and cultural transmission where communication systems learned rather than genetically inherited. Dolphins demonstrate some criteria including cultural transmission of signature whistles and potential semanticity if whistles reference specific individuals, but evidence for syntax, productivity, and displacement remains ambiguous or absent. Some researchers report sequential regularities in whistle combinations suggesting primitive syntactic structures, though whether these patterns represent grammatical rules or merely prosodic features of extended vocalizations remains debated. Perhaps most fundamentally, establishing whether dolphins engage in referential communication, where signals intentionally direct receivers' attention to external reference, or merely express internal states requires understanding signal meaning to receivers, information inaccessible without methodology enabling researchers to query comprehension directly. Recent approaches employing artificial language systems where dolphins learn human-defined signals offer promise for assessing cognitive linguistic capacities, though remain limited by anthropocentric design potentially poorly matched to natural dolphin communication. The philosophical implications of dolphin cognition challenge anthropocentric worldviews, placing humans categorically separate from other animals, instead suggesting gradients of cognitive sophistication with dolphins occupying positions comparable to great apes and possibly approaching human-typical capacities in specific domains despite radically different evolutionary histories and ecological niches. This recognition motivates expanding moral circles to include dolphins as entities deserving serious moral consideration beyond instrumental value for human purposes, instead possessing intrinsic moral status grounded in their capacity for suffering, self-awareness, social relationships, and potentially subjective well-being analogous to humans. However, translating philosophical recognition into practical policy proves challenging, requiring balancing dolphin interests against competing human interests in ways that political and economic systems structured around human benefit accommodate reluctantly. Questions arise about appropriate boundaries for human activities impacting dolphins, including whether entertainment displays, scientific research, or military deployment can justify confining intelligent social animals, whether noise pollution justifying economic costs of mitigation or industrial modifications, and whether conservation resources should prioritize dolphin protection over other environmental concerns. These practical questions lack clear answers, depending on value judgments about relative moral status of different entities, appropriate trade-offs between human and animal interests, and empirical uncertainties about dolphins' subjective experience and welfare impacts of various human activities. Nevertheless, the accumulating evidence of dolphin cognitive and emotional sophistication increasingly challenges practices treating these animals as mere resources, instead demanding ethical frameworks recognizing their status as minded beings whose interests warrant genuine moral consideration comparable to humans.